Welcome to the Smart Sales Solutions podcast, where we learn to implement intelligent solutions in a complicated marketplace. With your host, Rich Rudnick.
Welcome, everyone, to the Smart Sales Solutions podcast. Our topic today is very timely and top of mind of everyone: how to navigate your clients and business in turbulent times. I'm your host, Rich Rudnick, and joining me today is a good representation of clients from across the US and Canada, representing several industries. I wanted to bring my clients together because we are in a storm, unlike anything we've encountered, probably at least for most of us in our own lifetimes. Now, we have experienced hardships and crisis and downturns before, and we're all in this together, and we will all persevere and come through this better and stronger. I like to say that trials and tribulation either make us or break us. And my goal for all of you listening is this becomes your defining moment. This is your finest hour. And this is the time you can look back that propelled you personally and professionally. And I want to address both sides today. Folks, we will all survive this, and what we are experiencing has an end date. Let's contend together, though, that this ends sooner than later. There is no doubt that our world has changed more rapidly in the last 2 weeks than perhaps any period in our lifetime. If you're getting up there in age like me, and I know there are those that have more experience than I do, we've all experienced our share of pandemics and disasters and wars and terrorist attacks and economic downturns. In fact, I would say we are experiencing, and this is my theory, extremes more often with shorter time periods in between. And I think we should probably expect that as well. I also believe that we are seeing great breakthroughs in technology and in medicine. It's not all bad news. I think if we're change avoidance people, this can be stressful. If we're change makers, change agents, we tend to roll with this better. And we all have our, I think our levels of what we can handle. But I think this is becoming part of the norm. I was going to put up, I decided not to, all the list of things since 1983 when I started doing business that I've had to navigate and circumvent through it. And all of you have those stories, and those of you who have been around longer than me have even more. But we've all made them through, and there's all lessons that we can learn from that, and I'm going to pull from that today. So I want to bring up some key points. I'm going to move to what I call the coach's chalkboard, and I want to bring some points up that will, I think, stress some key points and really get us prepared for today. Those of you who have been with me for quite a while, and some of you who are just joining me, there's a lot of comments and phrases that I say, but I'm bringing them all together for this time because it's so critical. And I'd like you to take some notes as well as we're going through this. Life is not, and I'm going to be typing this up, and by the way, through today, I've got attachments to bring up and websites to go to, and so this is live, the recording's live, and if I bungle or make a mistake, I'll catch up, so just bear with me. Don't rate me on my spelling here. Some of this I may just leave up, so I know it's probably a good thing my wife's not on the call live. She'll probably come back and give me a lot of feedback, though, later on this if my spelling is not quite right. However, life is not about avoiding problems. Life is about solving them. Okay, so think about that. We encounter problems all the time, and this is creating a number of problems. What's really critical, especially in business, and we all are business folks, is we need to be problem solvers. And the better at solving problems we are, the better we move our business forward. I have some great examples, and I don't know if they made it on the call, of a great client called Aloha Produce that I'll share with. Just tremendous in such a short time what they've done after basically undergoing a nuclear bomb attack into their business, which is really important. So folks, we're either coming, and I just stated this, but we're either coming out of a crisis or entering one. See, there's my spelling, crisis or entering one. Think about that. And that's really the case. Now, it may not be global or national. It may just be personal. Many of you are undergoing personal trials right now on top of everything else. I have a client I met with this morning. He's been with me since 2009, started a financial planning enterprise in 2009 after the downturn, has taken and made a phenomenal practice out of it. And he's having a multitude of challenges, really not related to the stock market. He's so dialed in with his clients, but just a lot of personal trials. And we have to just realize that that's what happens. Folks, life has its mix of blessings, abundance, good times, as well as heartache and crisis, right? And pain. It's a combination. Rick Warren said it best. Life is like being in a train going down a set of railroad tracks. And sometimes we're experiencing that joy and blessing. It's ducks on a pond. Nothing can go wrong. We're hitting all of our goals. We're healthy. People are happy. That's one side of the one track. The other track is the heartache, the pain, the suffering. Sometimes we're going down both at the same time. Sometimes one or the other. We just have to understand that's what that is. And I mentioned this already, folks. Every crisis ends. This one will too. This does have an end date. And usually things get worse before they get better. And we just need to get our mind wrapped around that as well. Now, here's something I think is good news for all of you that we can look at as we're going through this. You have survived every crisis so far. Now, think about that, right? All these bad things that we've all gone through, we're still here, and we will get through this one. Every problem has an opportunity, and I'm going to share that with some client, that one client testimony of Aloha, but I also want to hear from you because you are also creating opportunities and seeing them in this time. And if we're so focused on the problems that we miss the opportunity, we miss this opportunity in the current problem. Now, many of you have heard me say this, and this is really critical for this time. Trials and tribulation produce perseverance. Now, I may not get that spelling right, so just, I know there's an E in there. Trials and tribulation produce perseverance. I want you to write that down. Perseverance produces proven character. And proven character produces hope. Folks, the reason why people become hopeless is they quit persevering through their trials. They don't deepen their character. Think about all the movies we love. I wanted to bring up a movie. I tried to get my wife to watch it with me. She wouldn't. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with her. It's Hacksaw Ridge, right? I was actually going to put some video clips on it, and then I decided, yeah, that's probably not for everyone. But the movie is so inspirational. All of these inspirational movies are not from people who maybe are receiving trust fund account checks and it's ducks on a pond and they're laying around. By the way, it's in that high prosperous time that character and disciplines tend to go out the window and complacency sets in. No, it's during these times that we're honed and refined. And so keep that in mind. There's a lot of people that can become hopeless, and we need to be part of changing and turning this around. A lot of this has to do with the will of the people going through. Keep this in mind, folks. Most of what we worry about doesn't happen. And now that doesn't mean that things you're worrying about won't happen. I'm saying most of what we worry about doesn't happen. And we have to adjust through what and how we're processing certain atoms. I'm not saying be Pollyanna. I'm not saying let's stick our head in the sign and not see the times and danger. We need to see and prepare and be diligent and prudent. But we shouldn't worry. Worry and fear and anxiety just create, it's negative emotion. It doesn't solve anything. It's really not productive. Fear paralyzes, and I'm not sure I got that spelling right. Fear paralyzes, but faith mobilizes. When I say faith, what do I mean? I mean in God and his promises for you and I. In yourself, we need to have faith and confidence in ourselves and our ability to do it. You can do it. If you're having a hard time believing in that, I'm telling you right now, you can do it. You can push through what it is that you are facing, all right? It really is a battle of the mind. I'll share with you that in a moment. Faith in our common people, the American will and the Canadian will of people. I have some Canadian clients on here of our country. This is a time for us to rally together. And the future. I think we need to move forward in confidence with the future that things will get better. Spring always follows winter as we do that. Folks, everyone on this call, this applies to you. You are a leader. This is the time to lead and grow in your leadership skills. People are looking at you. All of you have clients. If you have a client that is struggling in any way, it's important for you to make sure that you are appropriately calming them. We're going to talk about calming and reassuring. Very, very important as we go through that. So it's important to develop our leadership skills. So they're looking to us. If they're fearful and they hear or sense fear and panic in you, well, what's that going to do to them? Does fear and panic help or resolve anything? No. We need to be calm and proactive and solving the problems that are before us. Now, here's a challenge for all of you on this call. I want all of you, and your goal is to become a master of encouragement. I want you all to be master encouragers, okay? There are great examples of that, of people who are persevering through tough times. And I want you to be that. People need hope. People need to be encouraged. When we're out of abundance and selectivity, and we are confident and we're growing in our faith, it allows us to do that, to be utilized, to be a vessel as we're going through that. Now, every market has buyers and sellers, okay? Now, some of you are locked in your house, and so that does make it a little more challenging. I get that. However, I want to hear from some of you because I know, and I'm going to correct that. Don't worry, everybody. Everyone has stories in ground zero. I have Seattle clients who had transactions right up until last week. My Houston client, Ron, I had a conversation with him this morning. Had a deal penned. He's got 2 more he's hoping to get this week. Down in California, Coachella Valley. Talia, if you're on the phone, I want to hear about it. I saw all over Facebook about the pending sale. Let's not be so shut down that we can't serve the people who are engaged and in it to win it and in it to work. So I do understand we have unique challenges, right? And let's hope that that ends. But there are ways to work and navigate through. We need to keep our head in the game, our mindset, as we are rolling on. Well, since I started my career in 1983, I've had to navigate several events. I want to highlight one, and this will apply to a number of you because I have a number of real estate clients. My last day for training for my new real estate career, and many of you have heard this, was October 17th, 1989. Now, for some of you, that may be, who cares? That may be a non-event. Maybe you weren't even born or alive or too young to know. Some of you may have been around, but that's not connecting. Keep in mind, I'm a Minnesota boy. I had moved to Santa Cruz, California, to live the California dream. My dad was actually from California, had a large family. I used to love visiting, and I wanted a completely changed environment, so I got that. And I was living in Santa Cruz County at the time. I was recruited by the top real estate office at the time. And for my Coldwell Banker clients, you'll be glad to hear it was Coldwell Banker. I went through their Fast Start training. Yes, they had Fast Start back in 1989, a great program back then. And I was going home or I was in the office to pull the next day expired. So if you think I'm always picking on you for expireds, I used to work those too. And I was getting ready to go home to watch the World Series when everything changed in 15 seconds. We had a 7.1 earthquake that lasted for the duration of 15 seconds that changed everything. So I want to put just some pictures up. If you haven't, this is the start of my real estate career. So Loma Prieta earthquake, if you Google that and hit images, many of you maybe were watching the World Series and remember Al Michaels. You should Google that. He was announcing the A's and Giants game at the time when the earthquake took off. A lot of history was taking place. But yeah, take a look at this, huh? So this is pretty exciting, right? This is a great way to get in and start selling real estate. So I was thrown into the fire. By the way, folks, I have to tell you with all due respect, any of the events that we have encountered since was nothing compared to this, only from the standpoint of the amount of damage that we occurred. And I was in Santa Cruz County, so there's Santa Cruz, isn't that lovely? And all of the devastation. However, what was not only devastating was the fact that my county was completely cut off. It was like a war zone. It was like taking a pristine area anywhere in the United States and turning it into a third world country that had been bombed overnight. That's really what it was. And so we had to get back up. This was not too far from my house where I had a brand new house, my wife and I, who's still married. By the way, we celebrate 32 years on Thursday. We've survived all of these storms and heartaches and everything. But here's the deal. We had 5.0 and 6.0 tremors, aftershocks for months afterwards. Sometimes we would have dozens each day. I'm telling you, folks, there's nothing more unsettling than terra firma constantly shaking underneath you. There's no words to explain that. And yet we had to come back. I remember coming back that Monday, this was a Tuesday, coming back that following Monday, and all of these agents who were pretty slick. I mean, they had the BMWs and the Mercedes Benz walking in, and their eyes were like saucers. They had wondered what had just happened, what is next for us. And I have to tell you, folks, it was tumultuous and turbulent, to say the least. Deals were falling out left and right. There were lawsuits, pendings were falling, listings were going through the roof. People were just leaving the area. And I just remember the understatement my broker made that day. He stood up, and he's a great leader, by the way, and it was really calming, though. He says, I think the message we want to share to the public is that the market is stabilizing, is going to stabilize. Now, that was actually a very understatement. The market actually collapsed from the standpoint of everything. We are actually getting the message out to clients all around the area, and I'll share some of that with you and how we have to navigate that. It's really important that we got the message out to clients and prospecting, and I'll share that with you. Now let's fast forward to 2008. Almost all of you will remember that, and many of you were in business. So I had started Smart Sales Solutions in 2004, and let alone that the whole other story is 9/11. What I did with all that. But in 2004, it started, and yet 3 to 4 years in, here we are with a financial collapse that's affecting my key industries: real estate, loan origination, financial planning, small business, just being absolutely rocked. And I was sharing with folks, God allowed me to go through what I did at the time. And very often we don't know why we're going through what we're going through, but if we allow it, it'll shape and hone and refine us to be better and used to help others at a later time. And that's exactly what was happening. I knew exactly what to do with my folks in 2008 and 2009. And I was guiding them through. And for my real estate clients, and many of you who've been with me for years and years know what I'm going to pull up, I helped them to I walk them through navigating the 8 steps to selling your home in a down market. Now, by the way, all of you are receiving, it should be in your inbox, an email with all of the attachments that I'm bringing up. It should also have the links that I'm going to share later too. So for some of you who aren't realtors, this may not apply, but if you're selling your home, it sure does. But this I had pulled together from all of those top agents in the earthquake market and how we navigated through that market. And I brought it to the distress market of 08, 9, 10, 11, going really almost into 12, about 4 to 5 years worth. It changed people's business. I want to share Maurice Sykes' story. Maurice, I know you're on the call. You're in Romania. And I know you'll hopefully maybe set me straight. So if my numbers are off or I don't get something right, you can correct me. But I lock these numbers in pretty good. So I think we're in pretty good shape. But Maurice was a real estate agent, just bringing this up on how a previous market or a challenge can create a process to solve a current problem. I would just want to give his example. So I was rolling it out with Maurice. Maurice was in Brevard County, Florida, and you may say, wow, that sounds pretty nice. And it's a beautiful area. You may think of NASA, and that's the headquarters for where the space shuttle program was. The problem for that area, let alone the financial crisis, was the space shuttle program shutting down. And the problem for that area was NASA laid off 10,000 employees, and 7,000 of them, I believe, don't quote me on that, but I believe about 7,000 of them were engineers, high-paying, 6-figure engineers. It ripple affected, causing at least an additional 20,000 jobs in the area, at least, to be lost. That market went from a 2006 high. I remember a client who had a home a block from the beach that sold for about 900, was selling for about 180 in 2010. That market probably, and I was in markets all across the country, was probably the hardest hit. I mean, Vegas was hit hard. I mean, there were a lot of hard hit ones, but this one was hit really hard. And the home prices were just dropping like a rock, I should say. So in comes Maurice. And we sat down, and Maurice is a disciplined guy. And most of you are in one-on-one, you know about our discipline process. And he was bound and determined to go through that. He did. He implemented the 8 steps to selling your home in a down market. And that changed his business. He was able to double his business in a year when the market dropped 52% from the year before. I mean, that market was absolutely collapsing. He doubled his business and moved it forward. Maurice, you just straighten everything out later when I unmute. I'll let you jump in on that first. But that's what happens. I also created 8 steps to selling your home in this market. Because some of you really, we may not even have a down market yet. You may want to choose to use that. The point is, for years and years and years, we've used this. And what happens when the market gets so hot and we're just throwing listings, whatever we can, we abandon this. This is the time to bring this back in right now. This home will sell when you follow this. This will position so all other homes will be used to sell yours. That's really key. And if all we take are 8-step listings, we never have a problem. They will sell. One thing we have to do is talk to more people. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So it's amazing how we can take through this. So now, although difficult and small as our company, we did see consistent growth from 06 to 12. A lot of coaching programs are actually hemorrhaging through that. And we were really grateful for that time. It was really a great opportunity to reflect going into different markets. And there was an exception, and that was in Saskatoon. I think I have some Saskatoon clients on the call today too, in Canada. So, but for the US, in that time from 8 to 12, it was the hardest downturn any of us had experienced since the Great Depression. So in our lifetime, that was the hardest time. And I would go to markets all across the country, go to the same office, and I would get 4 different results. I would go in there and I would find statistics, those businesses that were closing, agents or LOs that were hanging up their license. I would have sandbaggers, those who were had been stockpiling on food and water, now guns and ammo. That's not good when you're in such a hunker down mode. Your next step is really only backwards to become a statistic. Then were survivors, and that's better than being a sandbagger, but that's not fun either. Think of yourself as treading water, okay? Now, if I do that maybe for a couple minutes, I may be okay, I'm getting pretty tired. That's not fun. But there were those back then that were thriving. They were killing it. They were having their best years ever. And folks, it had nothing to do with the market. It was the worst market we had ever seen. It really had nothing to do with a magic pill. You all know there's no magic pill. It had everything to do with how the disciplines that they were executing through their time. And this is where I developed the year-end review. It was in the last downturn. Any of you that are in coaching or have been in coaching for at least 6 months have seen this. I have a year-end and a mid-year review for different industries. I have a general sales, an LO, an insurance, a real estate. And this review focuses on the key business disciplines. And that's why it's so important right now for all of us to get back into it. The disciplines go out of the window when it's ducks on a pond. This is our time to bring that back in. And by the way, these consistency disciplines, one step begets another. It's kind of like a law of nature. If you go on top of a skyscraper and you drop a rock down, or let go of a rock, it goes down, right? The same thing with this. If you build on these disciplines, business has to grow. It's not about what the market's doing. It's about what you're doing. And all of you need to come away from this time planning to grow your business. We're either growing our business or going out of business. This is the time to grow it and advance. When so many people are hunkering down, we need to be engaged and in and ready to gain territory. By the way, this will end and there will be a lot of territory to gain when we're through this. So there's consistency disciplines. You've all gone through this. Persistency, attitude, and confidence. Persistency, remember I talked about that. We persevere through those trials and challenges. And listen, any of these on your rating, retake that. By the way, it's in your inbox. And let's review that and let's get back up on that. Attitude isn't everything, right, folks? Just attitude enough is not going to get us through any of this. Maybe we'll feel better, but it's not realistic. We're not talking about being Pollyanna. What we're talking about, we don't want Pollyanna to set in. We're talking about dealing with the facts, but having that attitude of a difference maker, all right? Attitude isn't everything, but the difference maker, their mindset will move them forward, and that needs to be you as well. So I wanted to bring this up again because this kind of prefaces the rest of our conversation. Confidence disciplines. We all have our tolerance limits. We all struggle with that. We're all experiencing that. None of us are immune, and some of us more than others, but we want to see where we're at and how we can work and adjust it. And then at the end is a 6-corner checklist. So I'm bringing this in just to remind you, this was developed in the last downturn. And for many of you who have been with me for years and years and years, you've been filling this out twice a year, every year. And this holds true today. The disciplines don't change. In fact, we highlight them. What does change is our contacts. We have to pre-qualify even harder. We don't want to present more. We have to pre-qualify harder to our prospects and really make sure they're ready to go right now. We can't bog ourselves down with people who are nervous and scared. I'm going to show you how we work and navigate through them. So I just wanted to bring that back up because I know a number of you are familiar with that. I want to go back up to the chalkboard here, and I want to bring that in. So remember, you're all leaders. People are looking up to you for this, and they're looking for guidance and hope. And let's become those masters of encouragement. So I want to take you through our steps here that we're talking about. So basically right here, everything you need to do to keep your business moving forward and yourself. First of all, folks, you got to start with you. I think most of you are really, you're aware of this, but especially if you're givers and you're movers and you have a lot of responsibility, we can give and give and give and give, and we got to be careful on ourselves. So we need to love our neighbor as ourselves, not more than ourselves. If we want to be earthly good to our neighbors around us, we need to take care of ourselves first. So just make sure and do a check-in, all right? And watch for yourself on your stress. I'm going to bring DISC back up. Those of you who have been assessed and understand your DISC, there is the tendencies under stress. I will bring a DISC assessment up just to remind you on that. See how you're doing on that, right? We all have our tolerances, and it's okay. We're all in this boat together. There is a lot of stuff to get our attention, right? And to work us through it. It's how we deal with that, though, that's important. Boy, rest, diet, and exercise is so critical. Folks, we have a great opportunity here to get in the best physical shape we've ever been in. Let's do it. Let's come out of this stronger and better than ever. We have some time, some of us, especially if we're being quarantined. But let's really watch that diet and exercise and have a plan. I had a dear client last week who's really going through seeing some hits taken at work with people who are ill, cancer, just a lot of heavy duty stuff. You know somebody who's in ICU through Corona. This is serious stuff. And making lists for himself, which is really important, and focusing on this is great. Folks, this is our great opportunity. I want you to grow in the 4 F's: faith, family, fitness, and finance, right? Let's shore everything up. This is a great opportunity to do that. We talked about the faith aspect. The family, I think, is pretty common. We'll bring this back up again on the opportunities, right? And you're all good on that. Let's bring this up. Let's really get the budgets in place, right? We should be watching expenses. I think we're going to be in some bumpy short term. Let's watch and cut out the fat. When it's ducks on the pond, we get complacent and we way overspend. This is a great time to put all that stuff that we've been talking about needing to put in place. Know your moral mooring, not morale. I'll call it moral mooring. What I mean by that, what is your underpinning? Where do you put your faith and trust in? Where do you get? Lock in with that. Go to God. And I like this phrase, stay grafted to the vine. My wife, bless her heart, we're on acreage, and she's just transformed our property. I'm probably more of a grunt guy on the place, right? I do that heavy lifting. She's the finesser. She just makes this great garden, and she's grown. We've lived there 23 years. We planted a lot of trees on our property, created this orchard, or planted. And so she's out pruning. This is a time we're being pruned, folks, and that's good, right? So we're being pruned so we can bear more fruit. So when we stay grafted to our vine, our moral mooring, God, what happens is we bear more fruit. So pruning and grafting is really key with orchard keepers, with vineyards. And so let's be doing that. Folks, let's create that gratitude list. We have so much to be thankful for. I want all of you to have that. We have a big list, way more to be grateful for. And let's be building and growing. Those are great opportunities right now we need to check with ourselves on. Do that check-in with family. Boy, this is a great opportunity to check in with people we haven't checked in with in a long time, right? Let's protect our loved ones, especially our elderly and most vulnerable. This is serious stuff, so let's make sure they're in and protected and cared for. Man, when we take our eyes off ourselves and start caring and looking for others, all this other things that we worry about tend to go away too. We want to be outpours. We want to be outflowing with blessing because we have much to be grateful for. Everyone responds differently during these times of stress. And I think for my teams that are on and where we have a lot of the DISC assessment, including Old Trapper, and I don't know if Aloha's on, my realty teams and so forth. But what happens is we respond differently based on our behavior. Now, let me just bring up, I've got Jerry's assessment here. Self-perception. This is how we can see ourselves. So do a review on this. Under moderate stress, well, folks, on a good day and all of our jobs, I think we're on moderate. We could be between moderate and extreme. Review on this. How are you coming across? Get others. So remember, stress or fatigue and tension and pressure. We need to do a check on ourselves and see how we're coming across, because what happens is we go to our primary behavior under that. So that's your primary natural behavior for those of you who have a DISC assessment. So some of you training clients, or those listening on the podcast, If you don't know what the DISC assessment is, you would like more information, you can just respond or email back, and we'll get you all set up. But let's keep a track on that, especially within the teams. I'd huddle up. It's a great time for the teams to do the DISC review. So let's do that. You all invested a lot in that. That's a great time to use that in place. Folks, right now, we need to apply all these key business disciplines. You know, I'm a block and tackle discipline guy, but this is the time we need to do it. First of all, let's review and adjust the plan. And I'm not suggesting adjust the plan down. I think a lot of you have had killer first quarters. We just need to do the adjustments and factor, okay, if we're going to have a little bit of a downtime, how do we make that up later? Let's do the countdowns, but let's not throw in the towel on the goal yet. No, let's plan on achieving it anyway, and let's apply that QBQ. The question behind the question is, how can I achieve my goal or exceed my goal even with the current crisis, right? In spite of it. How do we do that? Let's know, and maybe even personally, some of us may be expecting some short-term delays and loss. Let's plan and prepare and know that we can come and regain it back. But folks, let's expect long-term gain. Let's expect whenever we have a suppression like this, what happens is there's an outpouring. How many people do you know are right ready to go back to the restaurants and support those restaurants, right? Well, that's the same thing going to be in all of our industries. In fact, Old Trapper, you guys are doing great. Folks, by the way, and I'll be bringing this up later, I'll bring their website up. Forget toilet paper. You should be buying Old Trapper beef jerky. I mean, seriously, think about that. The shelf life is long. It's way more nutritious. We need to keep that going. You probably need both, really, actually. But let's make sure that's added in. But sales for them is great. But they're also expecting, I had a meeting with their fearless leader, Paul, that could even adjust back. Not to say that you should stop your purchase of Old Trapper. No, you should be continuing that on. But we're all in different phases. We're affected differently by this. I have Eric, my client, who's also my lender, on. He's buried with business right now. By the way, folks, this is time to refinance and purchase. I'm going to share that in just a moment too. Let's review those expense budgets, contingency plans. Folks, this is a great time to do that. I know a lot of us, and I've been working on our coaching sessions about this. Let's get her done now. This is the time. All systems, processes, let's implement them. My financial planners and probably my lenders, you probably can't breathe right now. It's just, you're killing it right now. So this is probably not the time where you're able to do that, but the rest of you, if you are, let's get that in place, put that in. Some of you are nailed on your CRM. Some of you are talking about getting a CRM. We can no longer continue down the line without it. We need to get that in. We need to load all of our prospects and prospect plan follow-ups. Now think about, a number of you were on my winter web training series. How many of you have implemented all of the steps for each one of those lead sources in? I'm not going to open up the mic and have confession time now, but I'm going to suggest that most of you can do better at that. Let's load those in now. This is the time. And I know team leaders, and I have several team leaders on the call, that this is a big deal. Let's get that all in place right now. Let's get all that role playing and processing in place so we can really roll when we come back. Folks, we need to keep prospecting. Some are saying, man, I don't know what to prospect. I don't know what to say. No, we need to increase the prospecting, phone follow-up. I'll share with you some scripts for this. But this is the time to nail the phone. The phone is your greatest asset, your greatest tool. Most of us have an aversion to it. You need to get over it. We need to get on it and use it and utilize the other aspects too, like Zoom, and leverage that, because now you've got your extra tool in the tool belt. Folks, phone salespeople are the best salespeople on the planet. I have been in the trenches in sales for 37 years, and in phone sales specifically for over 20. I've created inside outbound phone sales departments. I've managed and led teams. The phone sales model is the toughest because there isn't that face-to-face. You have to create all of the visual and the excitement and keep them in and engaged. It's easy for somebody to hang up on you versus being face-to-face. I'm not saying you should avoid all face-to-face. once this thing settles out if most of what you do is face-to-face. But the phone gets you to more face-to-face appointments if that is the case. The point is, nail the skill sets of the phone. This is the best opportunity time. Anything else you haven't had time for, folks, do it. Let's get her done. Procrastination is a plague, and we need to slay that right now more than any. Opportunities to tap, folks, are huge. So we talked about family. Let's start there. Man, let's take advantage of this because it will turn and get busy, and all of a sudden we won't have that time. But what I want to make sure is you lock in this non-negotiable time with family anyway. You know that I'm a big proponent of time management and blocking and balance. We need to lock that in now and hold to it. But let's take this opportunity. So let's get the memories built. And, you know, we're going to look back and see the things we did and fun. I mean, my dad went through the Depression. The stories he tells, you know what? They were great memories. My dad was born in 1927. He's 92 years old, bless his heart. The youngest of 10. They were poorer than church mice, okay? His dad was a pastor, poor as poor can be. They had a great childhood. They had great memories, all right? Let's build those now. Let's connect with friends and family that we haven't been able to connect with. Let's do that. On the business disciplines, let's go back in on the reviews, on the consistency, persistence, attitude, and confidence discipline. Let's get that phone mastery in. Folks, think about this. Everyone's home. Your reach ratio will go through the roof, all right? You'll be able to really build and grow with them. You'll be able to connect with them. I'll show you how to bridge. You're thinking, oh, how do we handle that? I'm going to answer that. I'm going to roll out the script. By the way, it is also in your inbox as well. Let's get the Zoom or whatever your remote meeting mastery is and learning how to do that. That's huge. This is a big one, folks. Oops. Let me get down there here. Move up here. I dropped down. We need to win the battle of the mind right now. 95% of success is won or lost between the ears. Okay? Not the years, the ears. And that whole phrase, whether you think you can or can't, is right. It's kind of what you fill your mind with, right? But we need to grow in mental toughness. And folks, let's understand this on what we're going through. Let's expect things to get worse before they get better, but they will get better. And we need to look for that. And folks, get ready for increase afterwards. Now, we don't know how this is going to go. We can't predict any of this. My hunch is if we can get back to normalcy sooner than later, I think the rebound will come back sooner than later. I think if our rebound is longer than sooner, then our recovery may be longer than sooner, but it will come back, all right? So let's just be ready for that. And let's be forward thinking. Tremendous buying opportunities. Oh my gosh. Stock market opportunities, mortgage, and real estate. So I'm just going to share real quick, and then Eric, I think you're still on the call. I'll let you weigh in later if you can. So Eric is a client of mine. He's also a loan originator with Wells Fargo. I'm on 2 loans right now with him. Crazy ride. Refinance on the house, buying a property. Yes, folks, purchasing. Call me crazy. Purchasing a second home, but folks, that's what we need to be doing is moving forward and having confidence on that. Let's not be crazy, but with prudence, if it makes sense, if we can afford that. And man, rates were all over the board crazy. Jumped 1.5 points last week. Closing cost points jumping 4,000. It was nuts. It almost looked like, no, can't do anything. Get a call from Eric. Rates dropped. And one of my concerns for real estate was if that real estate market went up, because I'm predicting things to really go strong in real estate. I think, we don't know, but I think sometimes people get nervous and want hard assets during times like this. I also believe the stock market will come back. But the rates, I was waiting for rates to drop. Yesterday dropped. I locked in on a 3.25 on a second home purchase on a 30-year. I have a 2.625 on a 10-year refi, so 10 or 15. So just folks, I'm putting that plug in for Eric and let Eric chat a little bit what's going on in mortgage, the latest, and it may have already changed, so I don't know. But tremendous opportunities. Let's get ready for them. Here's where we're going to spend the rest of our time. This is key, folks. Addressing and calming nervous clients' fears and reservations. Remember, you're a leader. They're looking to you we're not about being Pollyanna or giving false hope. That's not what we're talking about here. But there's a way to approach during this time. And the first and foremost is we need to approach with humility and empathy. And I'm probably saying that more to maybe some of us, maybe more confident generally, maybe high dominance and so forth. Sometimes we can come across as unempathetic. We need to watch that and be careful. First of all, we are all in this together. We're all being affected. We don't know the end game on this. And this is a great time for humility and empathy with folks. Not everyone processes through a crisis like this, like we may, and all of us are struggling with this also. We're all struggling with this as well. So the key here as we're going through, and these points I'm going to bring up in the script I'm going to bring up in a moment, we need to show that we generally care and concern. And the way you do that is to really mean it and speak from your heart. And when you do that, that'll be seen. Calm, reassure, and assist. And I'm going to show you examples in scripting for that. And then we're going to open that up. And you all have this in your inbox. Guide their fear-based decisions. So what I mean by that, very often if people are making decisions out of fear and panic, it's the wrong one because it's generated out of emotion. So if you go back to your DISC assessment, if you're in one-on-one and we had our conversation about those emotion factors, we're going to those. And that may not be the best and right thing. The key is just to help them make good, logical decisions and take them to logic and reason and make sure they're counting the cost. We have to be very empathetic and help them through, but very often as they roll through, they will realize it. I want to bring up the script on this that you all have. And let me bring that up here. So let's see here. I have, let's see. Is this one here? Oh, maybe I don't. Wonder where it's a Word doc. Sorry, brought that up as a Word doc. Here we go. First of all, I have some of those notes there, and you're going to see what I've talked about just as reminders for you that most of objections come from fear, which can cause anxiety, doubt, and uncertainty. So some of this is perceived emotional. Some of it may be legitimate reasons they can no longer move forward. And this now becomes, instead of an objection, is a condition. And a condition is a valid reason a prospect can't move forward. An objection is not. No, it's a request for more information. Most of you, if you've been in my training, all my core selling skill training, this is also included on mastering objection and handling and closing. And we talk about objections and conditions here. Also, you're going to hear me talk about feel, felt, found, identify, isolate, and overcome. And it's in that attachment as well. I won't address that anymore, but it's there for you. So as we're rolling through here, the key to managing objections, again, we're going to approach with humility and empathy. We will use that feel, felt, found. We're going to validate concerns, and their concerns are valid. And by the way, folks, we're probably feeling the same way. So let's keep that in mind if we're really honest with ourselves in a lot of ways. We all have that fear and panic that can well up inside. Now, we need to determine if it's an objection or condition, and that note will help. If it's a condition, we need to find out if it's permanent or temporary and then set a follow-up. When in doubt, we can't script everything out. Don't forget to always ask, do you mind my asking why or what is it about, and restate their objection, and I'll give you an example on that. Again, I'm going to show you how we show genuine care and concern, calm and reassure, guide their fear-based decisions to logic and reason, and help them count the cost. The feel, felt, found, and identify, isolate, and overcome will be in the first objections here. So again, making abrupt changes. So for example, we've got great examples from my real estate clients, my financial planning clients, lender clients, and so forth. So we need to get them through, and we all have this experience. We need to get them to the why behind here. So I'm trying to make this as neutral as I can. I know I have several industries. So some of this language, you're going to have to apply and a change to them. But in general, I change my mind, or I want to wait until the market settles down or until this Corona thing ends, right? So we validate their concern, right? Understand how you feel with these uncertain times. I've felt the same way, others have too. Do you mind my asking, what is it about the market change that's causing you to want to wait? This is not being pushy or pressuring. It's trying to get to the root cause. right? Is that your only concern, or is there anything else? Well, I'm showing identify, isolate, overcome. We use these now. This is not in any pressure way. We're trying to help solve problems and help lead them to good decision making. Every market has its challenges and opportunities. When a market adjusts, great buyer opportunities and savings can be tremendous. And by the way, folks, oh my gosh, what an opportunity we have. Some see it and seize it. Some hold off and wait. So have you considered how much it could cost you if you waited? So some, they may be in this other and they have to wait. That's fine. Just at least take an attempt at it. Don't take the objection at face value and think you're doing them a favor by letting them off the hook. It may be a valid reason they can't. That's fine. Some people are experiencing immediate loss. And I'm going to talk about the job loss here too. So let's talk about that. There's some of us are seeing that. I want to cancel or delay because of the coronavirus. It's basically the same thing, but I'm also giving a different approach, fairly similar, but identify and isolate. If I could show you the benefits of at least delaying. So sometimes people want to end everything, but this is going to have an end date. Instead of ending it, how about we delay? Because in all aspects, really, in what we're talking about is buying time and letting things sort out and seeing where that, so we can make a better decision then. That's usually the best way to go. I lost my job and cannot continue. So we want to be very concerned, show genuine concern. I'm so sorry to hear. Unfortunately, you're not alone. Everyone's affected right now. Genuine concern. Have you heard from your employer regarding temporary unemployment and government assistance? So we want to be reassuring that help is on the way. This is not forever. This will be coming. Most employers are looking at this as a temporary short-term and will need you back and you call to confirm. So this is the way we're also assisting, because sometimes when we get this news, we go to paralysis, right? Fear paralyzes, remember? Faith mobilizes. So we want to come back to that. Rather than cancel, since everything is delayed, now the outcome is unknown, my suggestion is to delay until we can get better information. Logic and reason, folks, right? Would you be able to make a final decision at that time and not make a decision with all the facts? Does that make sense, right? Count the cost. So there's some examples that you can use. Now, I am highly suggesting we be proactive in engaging prospects, clients, and so forth. And I have this one going to current or past clients or sphere, checking in. How are you? Genuine care. You don't know how that's going to go. We want to calm, reassure, and assist if needed. Let's be ready for resource materials for them. If they're doing well and confident, let's continue, right? Wanted to reach out and answer any questions you might have. Whatever your industry is, whatever it is that your expertise is, get them talking about that. Let's clear up misinformation. Answer any unanswered questions, provide facts, although no one can predict the future. By the way, we can't. Well, business is happening in every market. Boy, we have that happening right now. What you may be doing in the near future. And then you take it from there on how you want to move forward. Here's something to keep in mind. Those of you who are understanding DISC, the D's and I's, dominants and influencers, are most likely to be looking for buy opportunities right now. Steadies and compliance may be more likely to look for safety, security, and avoid risk. Let's be sensitive to both. That doesn't mean a D and I may not want to have safety and security, and the SC may not want to be looking for buy opportunities. It's not that simple. But let's just keep that in mind, that naturally that's where they can go. Make sure you adjust your response to their answer and set future follow-up and referral ask if conversation warrants. All right, I want to share a couple of graphs and websites, and then I'm going to open up the mic. So I want you to put your mic, here's your test. I want you to see if you're listening. Put your mic on mute, because I'm going to lift that mute function in just a moment. So there's your warning. I just want to share some websites and so forth. I got some old Trapper folks on. By the way, folks, if you've never bought Old Trapper, you need to buy that. This company is rocking it. They are a new industry leader rolling up. So you got to put that in your list. You got to put that in your survival kit for sure. But definitely you need to become addicted to it, because it's addicting. But just next time you see it in the store, jump on that. And I do want to hear from Paul and Jerry, because your side of the market is different. I want to hear just from you guys and what's going on, your perspective on everything. I want to hear from you. Also, I wanted to share a story. So Aloha Produce is a client of mine in Bend, Oregon. They are food delivery. So they deliver, you see their trucks to grocery stores and hospitals and schools and restaurants. And this is a thriving company, market dominator, brand new. They built this brand new whole building. That backside there, for those of you who know Central Oregon, is the Parkway, so it's great access and everything else. Well, everything changed last week when restaurants were shut down and schools were shut down. And it was like a bomb went off, and they had to lay off half of their people. These are hardworking entrepreneurs. They are so tenacious. Well, what they did is they all of a sudden instantly created BenFood.org. They got the idea. They started that with the food they had, they knew they couldn't get out, was going to perish. They got into some local charities that are like one place called the Giving Plate to donate food. They were offering food for people to stop by. They also created BenFood.org where you can order online. So especially if you're in Central Oregon, come in and grab it. Folks, this was put together in days, okay? And now what happens, you order online, you show up, you're paid for, you hand them your little receipt or number, they go get it, load it in your car, you don't even have to interact with them, and off you go. I mean, come on. This is entrepreneurism. This is solving the problems we have, creating the opportunities. They now have a whole new product line. They have a whole new revenue stream that they've created out of that. And that's how we need to be in everything we're doing to move this forward. And I want to give everybody one new hope. So get ready, get your phones on mute here. Whether you're in real estate, loan origination, or you're thinking of maybe buying a home or wondering what your home is worth or refinancing. And this is in the link. Just consider this. This is some good stuff. From this time, from the last one, the last downturn, mortgage standards are nothing like they were back then, okay? We're much better today on the credit availability index, okay? Look at the housing bubble and where we've been. We're in much better shape there. Prices are not soaring, even though in some of our markets they've been climbing. Look at this stat, right? The last housing market before the boom, and look at now. Nice and 4 to 6%, kind of even slowing off a little bit. So we're not in that huge bubble. We have room to grow. We don't have a surplus of homes on the market. We have a shortage. Folks, I'm in all markets all across the U.S. We do not have an inventory surplus. 3.1, I don't think I have a client in a market with 3.1%, okay? Most is under 2 months. Look at last time in 07, it was 8.2 months before it started to kick in gear. Big difference, big difference. Housing became too expensive to buy. Look at percent of median income needed to purchase a median priced home compared to today. Folks, we're making more money, and not all that's been lost too, by the way. There's been money lost with the stock market. A lot of it's parked, don't forget that. A lot of it's been lost. A lot of it will come back too. A lot of it's in cash. People are equity rich, not tapped out compared to before. Why? Because we've had a tremendous growth, especially since 2011. So whether you're refining, purchasing, we need to be out there moving, doing it. I just wanted to share some of that good news out there all right, here we go, folks. I want to see how well you're doing with this. I'm going to get back to the chalkboard here, but I'm going to get my video up. We got a lot of people on the call, so everybody, I want you to mute your phone. So I'm going to unmute you right now. All right, let's see how this goes. I'm unmuting. Everybody mute your phones. Mute your phones. Mute it, mute it, mute it. Here we go. I'm unmuting you. I want to hear how you're doing. Okay, Beth, go ahead and mute your phone unless you're ready to talk. Go ahead and start muting, folks. Good job, everybody. Just go ahead and start muting your phones. That's great. Maybe we can get your participation on there. I don't know if that is Maurice. Oh, Maurice is down there. Go ahead and mute your phones. It sounds good, folks. Thank you very much. Let's try to mute your phones unless you're ready to talk. But open up your video when you're ready to go. Let me go ahead. Let me start with Old Trapper. So, Paul, are you on the phone, or Jerry, Jenny, any of you folks?
Yep. We're here. We're here.
Yeah, good. So, folks, tell us just what's going on your end, just real quick, because, grocery stores are open and rolling. Just any comments on how you're in and affected, just anything you want to add to today.
This is Paul. I'll just add that We've seen changes last week daily, and then Wednesday it started hourly, and a lot of things came about with things that were uncertain, and we came through and conquered all of them. Anything that came up, we conquered. Yesterday, we saw an 8% increase in meat costs, which we've never seen anything like that in the history of
8% increase in meat.
Yeah. So, it's the changes that we're seeing happen hourly at times, which we've never seen anything like that in the industry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then what are some of the, you guys are change makers. So just any quick thing you want to share on, hey, we had this problem and we went on it right now to solve it. Anything you want to share on that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that, we're an essential critical company for the country, and we understand the need to make sure that we're able to produce products and ship. And what we've done is we've let everybody know that we can quick ship, and we've done a really good job with that, adjusting production to make sure that we're producing the products that people want the most.
Right.
And, we're winning. We got we all-time high order book, which, is pretty cool. And we're here to help, and we're here to work with our partners and make sure that we're getting them what they need in a timely manner.
Well, listen, I just appreciate, first of all, I just appreciate your winning attitude and your team and your 30% increase year to year. And you guys are so goal focused. You guys make it happen. And really, just for all that you guys are doing within there. And that's helpful for us all. Thanks for joining today. Eric Baki, are you able to jump on? I know that this is a sacrifice for you being here today. Are you still able to weigh in?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. So Eric, crazy time. So Eric's Wells Fargo mortgage. I'm just sorry you've had to deal with me, right? But just anything real quick, just on the market, you want to share what you're seeing, just anything for the good of the order.
Yeah, so the big thing is a lot of people don't understand how interest rates are set. So it's just doing a lot of education that it's on what mortgage-backed securities are trading at, not what the Fed is doing with the rates that they quote for the banks. So the big thing is just making sure that customers understand that. And we've seen now that the Fed is buying an unlimited amount of mortgage-backed securities, they're basically going to be in control of interest rates. And the only other thing will be capacity. So if they drop things too much, we'll start to see that just interest rates stop going down as lenders try to make sure that they have enough capacity. But other than that, it looks like the Fed's in control of interest rates for the time being while they do all their purchases.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for keeping the cool head and really being proactive through that. That's been a real blessing to me, and I know for your other clients as well. Maurice, are you on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Maurice, I gave your story, and you and I go way back, right? Yeah. And 2009 and 10. Did I miss any? I mean, did I go off the rails on that?
You were very accurate.
So just share, if you can recount back then on how that impacted you. And I know I have a lot of clients who that has too, but you were really in the storm on that. How was
yes, it was.
Just in general on the disciplines and even going to that 8 steps. So
yeah. I did start actually the housing bubble was going crazy in Brevard County. And when I first became a realtor, and within 3 months after I got my license, that's when the crash took place. And so I pretty much learned from there. I remember going to our real estate brokers and agents conference in Savannah, and you were the speaker. And Ken Durkee, who is the regional owner and director for our real estate agency, he said, you need to hire Rich Rudnick to be your business coach. And I said to Ken, I can't afford him. And Ken said he will double your income, your production in 1 year. I guarantee it. And I said, okay, I trust you, Ken. And so I'll do it. And so I bit the bullet and I hired you, and you did exactly that. You put me under the disciplines, you coached me, you held me accountable, which was good. I mean, I needed those things. And you also gave me tools to work with that were very, very helpful. And you were right, doubled my my sales and my income in 1 year. So that was incredible. As far as the 8 steps I was reviewing, because it's been a while, because I've been here in Romania now for going on actually over 5 years. So I've been out of the market that long. But I was going back over and reviewing some of the things, and in particular, the presentation I came up with after you coached me, and using those 8 principles, 8 steps, and the way I positioned my seller's presentation when I went to a listing presentation was to, it allowed me to evaluate them and understand whether or not this person was a highly motivated seller or they were just out there trying to, find.
Uh-oh. He was right. He was on a roll. Okay, go ahead. You had a freeze there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. And then the whole issue of sellable homes, I'd gone through make the mistake of marketing properties that weren't really where they should be in order to be sold, in the nightmares that went along with that. And then even at the very beginning, what I did is I worked through, when I had a listing call, I talked to, I dealt with a lot of the barriers that you talk about in the Smart Sales Solutions notebook and training, but also the things that, resonated with what I had experienced personally in terms of objections and barriers that people had. One of the things that we did in terms of pricing the home and the best in its market is, and I'll get back to it a little bit here, but one of the things I did is I made sure that their home was the best possible home in their price range, and that it beat competition. And one of the things that I started doing was I had a stager, and I told my clients, I said, I basically almost made it a condition for me to list their home, for them to have this stager come in. And I had a few proud women who thought they really knew how to, decorate their home and stuff like that, who objected. I said, just give her a chance. And when they came in, when she came in, she totally rearranged their whole house, and they were upset at first, but then after she got through, they go in, they say, I want to stay here. I don't want to sell my home anymore.
Yeah.
But what happened was, my stager she's top of the line, and that's the reason why I recommended her and had her come in. But we recreated a situation where that home was the best on the market in the price range that it was listed at, and I always made it competitive price. And I told the people that when I went through all the objections of, no, I want it higher, and I would come to them and say, you do that and you're going to lose sales. If you price it here, you're going to have more than one buyer coming in, and that's going to drive the price up. And so, or you're going to sell it within a certain amount of time, within 3 months, and you're not going to be losing money in the process. And so that really helped them. And I gained a track record after doing that for a while, that I could go to my next clients and say, look, this is what's happened with these people. Right. Let me give you some examples. Right. And it convinced them, and they worked with me. Creating incentives. One of the things that I did, I just made it 3-3. It was common in our market. It was a 6%, depending on which way people went. But I made it 3-3 and made sure that they got at least 3%, the buyer's agent. And then incentivizing the buyers. I didn't do these kinds of things so much. But what I did do is say, look, do a home inspection right up front and fix everything that needs to be fixed. If the yard was trashy or whatever, didn't look, top of the line pristine, I said, do landscaping. It's going to cost you now, but it'll pay for itself in the end.
Right.
And, I did offer the things, about, offering, suggesting offering buy downs or PMI, help and stuff like that. those are the kinds of things I use because that was more where our market was and what people really resonated with.
Get there. Now, just real quick. So a year later, in 2010, you and I at that same conference in Savannah, I guess Ken invited me back. We did that role play in that 6-step dynamic presentation, and we had that video on you. You went from, hey, I don't know if I can do this and afford this, to one of the leaders in your area in 1 year with the market turnaround. Leading well.
Let me tell you something real quick.
And I'm going to tell you, while Maurice is doing that, one of Maurice's big, hairy, audacious goals, oh, there you go, right there, see? He even brought that with him to Romania. How about that, huh? So you got that. So let me just say, Maurice, the reason he's in Romania, his big, hairy, audacious goal was to dramatically grow his real estate practice out so he could go to Romania on the mission field. And that's the kind of guy. So his BHAG was to go out and help serve others. So I just appreciate you being on here. And I appreciate our time together. And thank you for sharing. That was really special. It really meant a lot for me to have you join us today and share, for people to see your face, right? And just make sure I wasn't just telling a story, right? So,
it was a privilege. Thanks for asking me. By the way, one other thing I was thinking about. Right now, one of the key things that people need to do is, especially for agents, is to help these people. The first thing you ask them is, how you doing? Is there anything I can do to help you in this situation? And they will talk about you to their friends and colleagues that, here's a guy, he didn't call me so that he could sell my house or get money from me. He called me so that he could find out if I was okay.
And that's exactly how we see, and we were having to roll through that back then, right? As we go through there.
And that's one of the things that was part of my phone script. Very first thing I asked, is there anything I can do to be of help to you today?
Right. I was thinking of you. How are you and your family doing during this time, right? That genuine care. We got to come in with the genuine care on that. As going there. Thank you so much for sharing in on that.
I've got to split because I got another appointment, but it was great. Thank you so much. I actually got some stuff down here for me to use. No, thanks.
Go do it. Just translate it to Romanian. I'll let you do that. Right?
Okay, thanks a
lot.
You're
share that out. Take care. Do I have any realtors I want to weigh in? And Dave Rink, are you on the call? Dave Rink Construction? Does Dave make it? Are you still on? Some people may have had to leave. Realtors. I want to hear from some realtors, realtor teams. I want to hear successes and challenges. Anyone else? And I'm going to look up on the notes.
Rich, this is Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, I'll share some of my challenges.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You want the video one?
Yeah, let's hear the video. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Can you see me? Let me see if I got lots of.
By the way, I want to just make a comment. Freddie said he bought another bag of Old Trapper smoked products. So everybody, the Old Trapper's going through the roof right now. Go ahead. Share the challenge.
All right. So during the 2008 downturn, I was in the mortgage business, and I failed miserably during that time. I had the worst mindset ever, and I sat and watched all my colleagues thrive during that time while I lost everything. So as this crisis, or whatever you want to call it, has kind of hit our country, I realized last week that I was not about to go into this crisis with the same mindset that I had last time. And I started thinking through, how could I possibly rewrite the narrative, and how could I possibly rewrite the future and not panic, which is my mode of operation. So I was in a class last week. I started thinking through property management and the need for property managers and things like that, and offering that service. So I was in a class last week with Jeff West, who is on this call as well. And Jeff introduced me to Rich. So last week, even though I'm in this panic mode of how much money I have in the account and things like that, I made the decision that I was going to hire Rich to coach me and kind of get my mind and kick my tail to keep me moving forward and keep my mind in the right place and actually set up processes and things like that. So last night I actually picked up a buyer client. I've got an appointment with him on Tuesday. yesterday I signed up a 16-unit apartment complex, and today I picked up another lead for another apartment complex that needs some management.
Hey, you got to quit doing what you're doing. This is not
we're
working,
moving
Josh.
forward with a lot of things, and there's a lot of it's not working right. So, but I am really grateful because I am absolutely confident that keeping the mindset in the right place and having you coaching and having you help us through this time is paramount to success moving forward and being a great value and a great service to our clients. So,
well, I just want to tell you, I mean, I just so appreciate that, and it really blesses me to hear. I mean, this is what I do, right? I'm passionate about, just like you're all passionate about that, and I'm really here for all of you. That's why it was kind of funny. I got a mastermind group, and Oregon were put on shutdown, and I just put a text message in there that I'm assigning myself as an essential business, right? Partly because I have all the high-speed internet in my office I don't have at home. I can't roll this. I don't have the green screen and stuff, but I know that this is important and so forth. So thank you for giving me the privilege to walk along with you. I am totally excited and pumped about your plan. And right, we were planning for that big goal even through this, and that's when you get to look back after you achieved it, when that was achieved. Thank you so much for weighing in on that, Josh. That's great. A couple more. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Corey, are you still there? Is your dad there? Did you hang in? I didn't know if you were able to hang on that long. Anyone else want to weigh in? Any of the masters?
Hey, Rich, I will.
Hey, how are you? Is that Ron?
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, there's a crisis going on.
No way.
Huh?
No way.
So I just want to introduce you real quick. Ron is in, I don't know if you can get the video up or not. Ron is from Houston, Texas. He works for Perry Homes, the largest builder in Texas, and everything in Texas is big, right? So it's just big, and he's like, have you been there longer than anyone, Ron? Are you the longest tenured agent?
Yeah, I've been there 38 years.
38 years. So you, I should quit talking. We should have you tell us about all the crises you've been through, but any takeaways, just anything, any comments?
Anything about today? What's going on now?
Anything, successes, wins, what's going on? What do you want to share? What do you want to add?
The biggest thing I've learned is the problem is not in the market and what I hear in the market and the news. It's what's going on between my ears.
Yeah, it is. Whether you think you can or can't, you're right. So let's apply it. You had sales yesterday or last week. You got 2 more coming in this week. Keep it up, man. I'm so glad you made the call. And I hope Corey was able to join as well. And have a great rest of the day, too, with your family. I know you're in with family.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Freddie. Let's hear some wins because I know Talia had a win yesterday. Let's hear it, man.
Hey, Rich, how are you?
I'm doing great, Freddie.
Yeah, so we had we've been trying to focus on switching the tonality on the market, right? Because we hear all this negative and everything. So overall, I think I was making the match today. Carlos got an accepted offer yesterday. Nai got 3 within this last week and this week. Talia got 1 accepted, and I was able to put another one under contract yesterday.
Freddie, can I just interrupt for a second? Everybody, sure. This is Coachella Valley, California, around Palm Springs. In fact, my wife and I were supposed to be in Palm Springs right now this week for our anniversary. And we're here, right? So I'm doing this. God had other plans. But you guys are in lockdown. So, Freddie, wait, you're not supposed to leave your home. You're not supposed to be doing any business. How come you're doing all this business? What's going on?
Well, here's the conversation that I had with the guys, right? So obviously we have to be very wise, not go against what we've been recommended.
Right.
But people are reaching out to us, So what we're doing is, we were trying to do everything as virtual as possible. Like right. I put a contract, property yesterday under contract together. We were lucky to bring the buyer. We literally had 11 offers on that property. So and we got the buyer as well. So here's the deal, right? So we still have to, bring the the right information to people, people will still buy. Like we've been,
Right.
like I've been proven wrong. Like I was, the first week, when this thing went down, a lot of people are concerning everything, but I mean, you brought up a great point. What, I got into real estate in 2007. I did mortgages for 7 years, and I got into the business right when, I remember that the day that I choose to do real estate was the day that the banks were not doing any loans. Like literally, I don't know if you remember, there was no bank that will give you a loan even if you had 80% down. So they closed down. That's the day that I was sitting down and I told myself, what, I'm gonna do real estate. And I make a couple calls, to people that are respecting everything. And obviously, to my surprise, the reaction was, what, are you crazy? What, don't you see, they started giving me all these names, of big players in the business that they were getting out of the business. But for some reason, I mean, by God's grace, I stick around, and I had a great time. I did a lot of short sales. I didn't know the definition of short sales and everything. So this week has been a very kind of like a brought back mentality, in the sense that if we did it before, we're going to do it again. So I was just talking to my team in the morning that, it's going to be up to us. What kind of message do we bring? Right. So, there will be, things could get worse before they get better, before you get better. But, we're humans. God has given us the grace and favor of surviving. And I think this is the time that, for us, the ones that put the right information in front of us, because if we start watching CNN, all these biased media and everything, it makes you sick, and we're going to get too much fear into us. So I've been thinking, right, we're going to have to choose either make our minds right now to live it by fear or faith, but we won't be able to do both. If we do both, it's going to be a roller coaster. One day we're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to eat the world. The next day the world is eating you. So I had chosen to live by faith, do the right thing, calling people, asking them how they doing and everything. Yesterday I sent 2 other buyers. They asked me, Freddie, I'm ready to buy, and I'm sending to qualifying everything. So what I've been telling the guys, just try to be prudent. If you don't really have to go out, don't go. But if people want to see the house, try to show them as much as possible in front, and don't go show more than 1 or 2 homes. Don't go like 10, 15 houses,
Right.
Because we still have to survive, unfortunately, by, here in the United States, agents are categorized. They're not categorized as small businesses. So we don't know if we're going to get part of the chunk that they're passing around right now. So we have to do what we have to do. But I think it has to do a lot how we presenting ourselves, how we're looking around with other people. Are we bringing the right message? Are we putting, messages on social media, letting people know that the world is still, moving along. It's not falling apart. Like you saw today, I told, Naib put like 3 properties that we got accepted, some other ones in there, Carlos. So I told him, just get it going, because people have to get over this fear that the world, is not really falling apart. There's still opportunities. So I just want to bring that one out because, like the other folks said, sometimes we listen too much to the drunk monkey, right? Things are falling apart. I'm gonna go down here and everything. Well, that doesn't do any good. It's not gonna get us anywhere. If that would solve the issue, man, I would encourage everyone to do it. But the truth is that we're gonna have to live by faith, doing the right things that we know how to do, calling people that we can rely, getting information in front of us that will help our clients be educated and be ready. I think, like you just said, Rich, this is the time that we can grab as much market as possible, while the rest is think, the world is really falling apart. We can think, how can we survive and make the best out of it and bring the best value to the market. So just want to add that out.
That's right. Hey, good call there, Paul. I like that one. That's great. Yeah, let's fill our mind with the right things and right sources. Let's get there. Listen, everyone, I have to close. I have another session coming in. Thank you so much for participating today. I appreciate all of you. We're family. We're all in this together. We have each other's back. Let's keep encouraging others. Let's keep motivating. Let's keep moving forward. We will all be better for this. And I want to thank all of you for listening to the Smart Sales Solutions podcast. If you have any questions, if you would like more information on what we discussed, please click on the link below. Contact us today. Thank you so much. We're here for you. Take care, everyone. Let's move forward in faith. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Smart Sales Solutions podcast. For more information, go to smartsalessolutions.com.